So the Winnipeg Jets lose Game 3 down in Dallas alongside Jamie McLennan, Frankie Corrado. I'm Glenn Sheeler as we're breaking down this Winnipeg loss, guys. And we got to start with now what is the most controversial goal of these Stanley Cup playoffs. We knew it would happen sometime. We thought maybe it would be a goalie interference type of controversy, but no, this turned into a kicking motion, or what the league said was not a kicking motion, and Connor Hellebuyck kind of deflecting it or propelling it into his own net. There is a lot of gray area here. What do you make of all this, Jamie?
Well, the one word that stands out that league used was propel. And I don't know if Connor Hellebuyck actually shot it into his own net. What he's trying to do is react. So when you take a look at it, Alex Petrovic, he's trying to kick it towards the net. It's a good play by him. He's trying to keep this puck alive. No problem. It rolls to him, kicks it towards the net. Connor Hellebuyck is trying to keep it out of his net, so he takes a swipe at it. It goes off of his stick into the net. This is where the interpretation starts to get a little bit murky.
Well, because Hellebuyck wouldn't have reacted if the puck wasn't kicked into his crease like that.
Exactly. So we don't argue. It's a kicking motion. I think everybody agrees with that. But then where the gray area is did Hellebuyck shoot it into his own net? Did it go off his stick into his net? But either way, in my opinion, I think he's a guy that tries to make the save, and it hits him and goes in the net, so it should be no goal. I don't know how you feel about it, Frankie, but that's certainly frustrating.
So there's layers to this, right? Because you could have the argument that Petrovic was or was not a distinct kicking motion. Like we can argue that first. That's the first part of it. And even if you decipher that it is a distinct kicking motion, if it deflects off of Connor Hellebuyck and they determine it's a deflection, then it is a good goal. The thing that was determined, though, by the league is that that is not a deflection. That is directed into the net by Connor Hellebuyck. And this happens quick. So for me, I watched this, Jamie. I didn't play the goaltending position, but I know, about possession and what you're intentionally trying to do. It's hard for me to honestly say that Connor Hellebuyck really directed that into his own net, propelled it, which is, the word that the league used. So listen, it was a long review. Ultimately, that's the conclusion that they came to. There's a lot of layers to it, but, there's gray area involved in this type of thing when you're talking about intent and directed and propelled and deflected. We could talk about it for days, but this is what they came to.
Well, it did feel like days with the review. Yeah. Because this wasn't a 60-second review. It took minute after minute after minute. That's where you can tell they're trying to decide. Yeah. That's where they're maybe on the fence and in the war room going, did he propel it? Did it not? You're going through the rule book, the letter of the law. So the longer it goes, I think the bigger the controversy it is, because you're sitting there going, they're probably going, all right, how does this stepladder of rules apply to this situation, Glenn? That's the frustrating part.
And you have to keep in mind, if they determined that this was a deflection and not propelled, not directed, this is not a goal. Right. And that completely changes the outcome of the game. But they said that this was Connor Hellebuyck propelling this into the net, and that changed everything in regards to this play.
And the timing of it, of course, to happen in the third period of Game 3. This is a TSN turning point, potentially, of the entire series, and Winnipeg is probably not happy with this right now. Let's hear from their head coach, Scott Arniel, postgame.
Scott, what explanation did they give you on that kicking goal?
The puck was kicked, but that Helly directed it in to the net. The rule states that if the puck gets kicked, if it hits a body or a stick of anybody else other than the goaltender, it counts as a goal. It hit our goaltender's stick and went in the net. That is no goal. So they said that Helly propelled the puck in. I haven't seen the word propel in the rule book.
Yeah, so they're saying then he's basically playing the puck at that point.
That's all all I can say on it. That's what we take the rule as.
Right.
That's what we thought. The situation. That's why we thought maybe it was going to go our direction. The rest of it, they made the decision. We got to live with it, and we got to move on from it.
Obviously, that stands as the game winner. How much did you feel that delay? They come and score real quick right away to make it 4-2. How much did that contribute to the way things played out?
Yeah, you know what? I thought we played a heck of a hockey game. You're right. And that, we got an Amber Alert going. No problem. No, you know what? I thought we played a really strong game. We played a really good game. Man, that took a long time. Not sure why. Obviously, it's a big moment, but at the end of the day, but we have to be ready. They came out and jumped on us. We have to be ready for that next shift, and we gave up that quick one. But I like a lot of what we did. I don't think it got us rattled. I think that, we got back on our heels a little bit in that next one. We gave up a rush against that top line.
Scott, obviously, people are going to look at the score. They're going to see Hellebuck on the road. They're going to assume some things. What was your assessment of Connor's play tonight?
Well, yeah. I mean, he had to make some big stops. Him and Ottinger, they were going kind of toe-to-toe. There's a lot of good looks both ways. But we're going to be judged, our whole team. We're going to be all judged, not just Connor, by what happens on the road. We got to win. They came into our building and took home ice away from us. We got to win here. And so everything that we have is going to be pushed into Game 4 here to get this thing evened up going back into our building.
Their 4-2 goal is transition, and it's against your top line. And maybe that's a line that had some struggles with transition D in your last win as well. I'm wondering if there's something that they're not quite having dialed in because they were so good.
Yeah, that one's a tough one because it came off a line change. We had a winger coming that was changing on the wall. Scheif jumped out. We didn't have all our numbers out on the ice, which obviously that's part of hockey is your line changes. So we kind of got caught halfway in between. And, it's, they were coming with all kinds of speed. That's hence picking up speed from almost the goal line. So just, we've talked about it. It's something I thought we've done a really good job of trying to take that away. And, that was a situation where they took advantage of it.
Scott, obviously a lot happened in this game, but at the end of the night, Rantanen still has 3 points, and he's been on a dominant role. What, as a team, do you need to do better to? Well,
it's a 2-2 hockey game, and you know what? At the end of the day, we're going in the third period in a 2-2 game. I'm still good with what we're doing. He's a tough guy, like a lot of their skilled players. It takes a lot to sort of shut those guys down, and that's all part of this. If we're going to have success, not just him, but all of them, that we got to take away their offense. And he's a big power forward, and he made some plays. But it is what it is. I mean, one came off the power play. The other one, like I said, it was a 2-2 game up until that moment where that goal went in, and that's something that we just have to make sure that we continue to do a job on him and the rest of their top players.
Both Morgan and Kyle after the game said, in that moment, we need to be better at, fighting back their momentum at that time. And clearly, your players could lean into the excuse that was built in with the third goal. The fact that they don't, and the fact that they're owning that moment and saying they need to be better. How does that make your job easier as a coach?
Well, it's like I mentioned there, we felt we played a good game, and that's pretty much what I said afterwards. I mean, we had whatever it was, a 2-3 minute sort of situation where they scored a couple of goals, but at the end of the day, hopefully that some of the stuff we did, the offense that we created, the chances that we had, help us feel good about what we can do in Game 4, and that's what we're going to have to do. Dallas is a good team, and they defend well, but we have to find ways to to score more goals than them. And we had looks, but now we got to make sure also that we do that, and that starts on our power play because we had some some opportunities maybe to get ahead on that in the game. So those are all areas that we'll look at and look to improve on. Thank you.
So Scott Arniel really composed there, didn't light the league on fire or anything for the call, but he clearly disagrees with it. I think he was referring to Rule 49.2, where it says any kicked puck that deflects off the stick of any player shall be ruled a good goal, excluding the goalkeeper's stick. So that's actually in the rule. So he said, I didn't see the word propel in there. Yeah. So clearly they're disagreeing with this ruling by the league.
They are disagreeing, or we disagree as well, in essence, because the goaltender shouldn't be penalized for trying to do his job.
He's trying to make a save.
Trying to make a save. Yeah. And this is the frustrating part because a lot of times, you're in your crease, you're trying to make a save, it's kicked towards it. I think they did deem that it was directed by a skate. It was kicked. So that's, if you're going to go with that, the fact that, Hellebuck knocks it in his own net, he's trying to make the save. He's not trying to fire it behind the net. That's not a distinct shooting motion. But the league, it took 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
It took 8 full minutes to look at it, multiple angles. Yep. And listen, I'm a fan of the league. I think they do great work. Mm-hmm. But sometimes under the letter of the law, you have to look at context of it. And this is I just don't see the propelling motion. I do see it hits his stick, but he doesn't fire it in the net. He just redirects it in the net, unfortunately.
And the thing about that, the puck is bouncing so much already. Like, it's not like you can really catch it and say the puck went from point A to B to C in the net. Like, we're kind of following the bouncing puck, and it's hard to decipher what actually happens. Once you get through all of that muck, you look at it and you say, how can the goaltender in that situation make a conscious effort to propel that puck, to direct that puck in the net? So with all that being said, Scott Arniel has a legitimate argument there, but he did keep his composure.
Yeah.
He kept his cool, and that's important for the team because he's right. His team played a pretty good game. Like, especially that second period, that was, we always talk about it. What's Winnipeg Jets hockey? It's low event. It's good defensively. It's just after that, that's when things fell apart for them.
But that was your TSN turning point. And you give up that goal and they score on it right away afterwards, and it's curtains. And Glenn, you talked about it when we first started, saying this might be the difference in the series. You might circle that and go, geez,
the margins are so
exactly. It's so thin, the margins. So frustrating, but I do like Scott Arniel's composure there because there's other nights where he looks like he's going to charge the mound. That wasn't one of them. He looked, pretty in control of his emotions.
We're getting more post-game sound coming in. Let's hear from Kyle Connor, who scored a beautiful wraparound goal.
Not great. I was on the bench. You guys probably had a better look than I did. I mean, they showed a couple of replays, but sounds like what they told us was how he played it into his own net. We were asking about the kicking motion. There's a deflection. The refs claimed that it was he played it in his own net. I think that was the bottom line. Yeah.
So when does a deflection turn into playing a puck? Yeah, I'm not sure what you're supposed to say. It just seems like a tough call to make. And then when the review went on for as long as it did, would you guys have had confidence building or confidence losing as it got so long?
Either way, I mean, there's no excuses. We have to be ready to play, whether it's short or long. And obviously, big momentum changer. They were able to get that one, and then they scored the next shift there. And that's something that obviously momentum swings happen in a game, and we try to turn more into our favor. But it's just the way it happened, and they were able to gain chances off that.
Sorry, why do you think the game got away from you guys in the third? You played so well in the second.
I don't think it got away from us. We were right there in the game. One deciding goal that may or may not be a goal, and we're right there in the game.
How you guys had answered them back the first two times they took the lead. Maybe just take us through your goal. Nice play by David. A bit of a race, I guess, to that far post that you ultimately win.
Yeah, we got to keep putting pucks behind their D and, getting our forecheck going. I thought, our forecheck's one of our best assets, be able to turn the puck over. And, that one happened off a face-off, but we were still able to get to a loose puck, turn it over. And, Gabe, his shot at the face-off kind of hit him in the head there and created the scramble. So more times we put pucks to the net and, make their whole team turn and kind of collapse in there, and, opens up a lot for us. It's out of our control. You can, ask the league or ask someone else that, but like I said, we gotta, no matter what happens, we gotta be ready and handle ourselves, whether it's long or short.
And then with Rantanen's goal, the 4-2-1 was a bit of a day. Is that a case of them just being ready off the hop more, or you guys would obviously have been pressing for a tire too?
A bit of a breakdown by us. They scored a couple off the rush, and so we need to be better at that. We need to take a look at that. That starts with everybody. Our D's, gapping up, and then forwards coming back. You're never too late to come back. You got to be able to stop them from going east to west the way he, got in the zone like that.
Just what's the mindset now going into a game 4 that I guess you guys will view as a really important one now?
Yeah, it's for sure. It's important. We need to get one on the road here, and that next one's the best chance we got.
Up next, let's hear from Morgan Barron after this loss.
You had a pretty good vantage point of what ended up being the game-winning goal. What did you see on Petrovic and his skate and stick and your stick, and just maybe take us through that play?
It all happens pretty quick, obviously. I just kind of tried to tie up his stick, and I had a better understanding of it looking at the replay, probably, that you guys saw than in the moment. And obviously it hits off his skate and then seems to hit a few things and go in. So honestly, I kind of feel like I'm at the same level you guys are with it.
Did it hit your stick once it came off the skate?
No, not my stick.
What explanation did they give on the ice? If
You'll have to ask Arnie that. I'm not sure. The refs kind of talked to him.
To have a delay that long for you guys and have it turn out to be a goal for them, what does that do for you guys emotionally?
I don't think it's a great excuse for us. Obviously, they got some momentum from the goal, but it's still a one-goal game at that point. And regardless of the circumstances, I think we have to do a better job kind of pushing back.
Morgan, would you say, did you ultimately agree then with the ruling or disagree with the final ruling?
No, I mean, again, it seemed to me like he kicked it, but what do I know? You'll have to, again, Arnie got the better explanation from the rest, so I'm sure he'll have a better idea than I will of kind of what happened, but I would have liked to see it come off the board, obviously.
Do you feel like that's a game then that sort of got away from you guys? You probably liked what you did in the second to get it tied up and had some good looks to take the lead?
Yeah. I think most of the guys in that room, that's a good effort. Obviously, I think, for our line to give up 2 in the third period, that can't happen. So it kind of starts with me and finding a better way. Obviously, it's unacceptable regardless of how they go in or the calls around it. So, it's a good effort, but ultimately those little plays make a big difference. So we'll clean that up.
How did you like team's response where saying there was early penalty trouble and you fought back from a pair on 1 goal basis?
Yeah. Obviously, that's the response we want at that point of the game and in the third period there. So, I guess you can appreciate that response and like the way we did that, but ultimately it's about results this time of year and kind of being able to do that throughout the full 60. So, baby steps, but I think if we're able to kind of put together that for the full 60 minutes, it'll be a good result for us.
On the play leading up to the kick, they have quite a rush, and it almost looks like you guys handled a switch mid-rush as well. So did you guys do a lot of things right, or was that also still a breakdown?
I felt like we had it handled quite well. I'm not sure if that kick or whenever it hits his skate is from below the goal line or on the goal line, but to me it didn't feel like he had an angle. And again, I'm still not sure. I know it didn't hit me, but I'm not sure what it hit after that. So those bounces are going to happen. But again, I'm kind of beating a dead horse here. But it's kind of about the way we respond to it. So.
Well, for good reason. Most of the questions being thrown at these players and the coach is about the 3-2 goal, guys. I mean, very controversial. And this was kind of a theme, in the St. Louis series for Winnipeg, that when things started unraveling, it just got worse and worse. And that kind of continued here after the 3-2 goal. Now, 49 seconds later, Frankie, it was 4-2 thanks to Mikko Rantanen.
Mikko Rantanen with another impressive performance, 3 points in this game. But, you talk about the TSN turning point, and, of course, the video review, it's long, and it doesn't go the Winnipeg Jets' way. And then Mikko Rantanen takes full advantage. And you watch this play and you think, okay, his feet aren't necessarily moving that well, but he changes gears, he finds a way to get this goal. And of course, there's a little bit of maybe a miscue, something that Connor Hellebuck's not doing here, Jamie.
Well, he's got his stick choked down on it, and he's doing a little bit of a windshield wiper, but what that does is exposes the top of the net. And Mikko Rantanen, you give a goal scorer a little bit of daylight, and he picks it. You saw exactly what he did. Now, Connor Hellebuck did that in the St. Louis series as well on Braden Shen. He tried the little windshield wiper stick swing, and the blocker drops down. That exposes the top of the net. Shen got the rebound on that one. Rantanen just takes what's given, and what was given was the top of the net. He puts it underneath the bar.
I mean, Rantanen and the Stars, they were shut down in Game 2, but you take away that game, this run that he is on. He was pretty quiet in the Colorado series for, games 1 through 4, but games 5, 6, 7, and now the first 3 here against Winnipeg. This guy is hotter than a tea kettle. 3 more points here in game number 3. I think we have post-game reaction from the Moose, Mikko Rantanen, as well.
To be scoring, and not just you, but the team in the third period and the 2-2 game, and you've done this several times in the playoffs as a team.
Yeah, it's important. I think good start to the game, I would say. First period was really good, and then kind of second was theirs for sure. They outplayed us, they outbattled us. They were offense all the time, and we were defending too much. But once again, Otter makes some big saves, and yeah, third periods have been good. In the games that we won, we really pushed into third and didn't sit back at all. And obviously, it's good to get not only 1 goal lead to final minutes, 3-goal lead basically. So that makes it a little bit easier.
And what do you see on Petrov's goal?
Yeah, he was obviously he's playing great. He's defensive defenseman, but he's joining the rush as we saw on that play, and I didn't really see how it ended up in. I knew they were reviewing it, but it's good for us and for Petro that it counted.
What was your thought process on the bench there during the review?
Yeah, like I said, I saw him kind of kick it, but I didn't see a replay of it until I actually haven't seen it even now. But it was I didn't know. I thought it was 50-50 probably, but thank God they called it a goal.
Did you guys get energy? Because you came roaring out of that 5-minute break or whatever.
5-minute break on
when the review was going on.
Oh yeah.
It just seems like you guys had some of your best shifts right
yeah,
after that.
I guess we everybody got some rest, and we were fresh after that, so maybe it was a good thing for us.
If that review went the other way, I mean, was the result or the game gone the other way? I mean, it seemed like the whole game changed in that moment.
For sure, if we tie games still after that, if it goes the other way, who knows who gets the next goal, but obviously gave us energy. But I think no matter which way it goes, we're pretty good at keeping it even keel and just keep working, because I think we had a pretty good third before that even, so I think we would have still played well, but who knows what happens after that.
What's it like to see a guy like Petro who's just grinded in the AHL all year get an opportunity in a moment like that?
Yeah, I'm happy to see him do well, and like I said, he's been playing really well. He's been very solid defensively. I think that's what we all expect from him, and obviously physical. Like we saw last game, he hit Lowry and he almost went to the third row. So it was that's what it brings to the physicality.
The streak does come to an end. 13 straight goals that you had or scored or assisted on. What can you make of a run like you just had, and have you even pondered where it sits in Stanley Cup playoff history?
No, I'm trying to stay in the moment. Obviously, I'm happy to help the team. I'll try to keep doing that as much as I can, both ends of the ice. I'm just trying to stay in the moment and even keel after wins and good games. So, not much to say about that.
How important was it for you guys to retake the series lead? Now you've got game 4 here at home.
It's important, obviously home ice in playoffs. It's really important to hold it as much as we can. Obviously, there's good teams. Winnipeg is a good team, and some parts of the second they could have probably take the lead even there. So it's important, and we got to really reset tomorrow and play a good game, because we know they're gonna play their best game of the playoffs probably next game. So we got to answer. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Mikko Rantanen leads the Stanley Cup playoffs with 18 points, but look at the last 6 games. 17 of those points coming in just 6 games. And when they made it 1-0 in Game 3 here, Rantanen had then scored or assisted on 13 straight goals by the Dallas Stars, which extended his already Stanley Cup playoffs record. So just a remarkable run from Mikko Rantanen. Let's hear from his head coach, Pete DeBoer, after the win.
Petrovic, what can you say about him? This is a guy who's been in the minors grinding.
Yeah.
He's played more games for you in the playoffs than the regular season. Just what can you say about him getting rewarded?
Yeah, great. A lot of, I think any playoff journey you go on, a lot of unsung heroes. Came up last year and did the exact same thing for us in the playoffs. I think I got a lot of time for him. I always liked him. He's not a career minor leaguer. This guy's got a lot of NHL games under his belt, and he kind of got to a point in his career where he's an American League captain and leadership and things like that. But I've always liked his makeup and his game, and he made a believer out of me last year in the playoffs. So when we got to that point of the year this year where we were talking about depth up here. We brought him in, and he's an easy guy for a coach to play.
Yesterday, you said if your defensive defensemen have to start scoring, you're in trouble.
Good point.
So what is
No,
it?
I said if we have to count on our defensive defensemen to score.
I get it right.
Yeah.
But what does it mean when your team does get contributions from
Yeah.
Petrovic, and then Cody Ceci had a few good
Yeah.
looks as well?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean? Good point by you, and you're right, I did say that. And it's true. At the same time, I thought we had a lot more guys look a lot more dangerous tonight up and down the lineup than we did the other night. And, you know, that's a credit to our group. We looked at last game, we made some adjustments, and, you know, our whole group was more dangerous. And, you know, we got some great contributions, though, from some unsung heroes. Our penalty kill, I thought Sam Steele was outstanding tonight. Blackwell, a couple block shots. You know, a lot of work by guys that don't get noticed a lot.
Pete, on the video review, your counterpart Scott Arneal believes that if they ruled it a kick, and it appears they did, that the fact that it went off of Hellebuck's stick and in means it shouldn't have counted. That's how the rule reads. What was your read on that play?
Well, I'm not sure that's how the rule reads. I think the rule reads that if I believe if the goalie's making a play on the puck, that it's a goal. So that's the difference. Is it just deflected off him, or is he trying to make a play with the puck? And I think they got it right.
Is that how they explained it?
Yeah.
Coach, you just mentioned the penalty kill. In the
Yeah.
postseason so far, you're 31 out of 35 on successes on the PK, 89%. What makes the Stars penalty kill so successful?
Yeah. You know what? Great attention to detail by Elaine Nazardine, and he runs that group. Great buy-in from the guys that are on that group. Great goaltending is always a key to penalty killing. You know, I think as a team, though, I mean, we're still taking too many. We're putting too much pressure on our penalty kill, but they've been absolutely outstanding so far.
Well, that does it for us. So a 5-2 win by the Stars in Game 3, but I'm sure the talking point of that 3-2 goal will be going on for days and days here. But the Stars 2 wins away from becoming just the 5th team in the last 20 years to reach the conference final in 3 straight seasons. We'll be back after Game 4 for another post-game edition. Thanks for watching.